Hi, good afternoon, class. Welcome back to class. Over the last week, we didn't have any recording going on because we were just doing practice and then solutions. Today, we are looking at our review for past paper questions for fractions only. Now, when looking at fractions, when looking at past paper questions specifically, the marks that is allotted to the question determines how much work you put out into the question, determines the amount of work you show for the question. This question is 5 marks. Some steps may be worth 2 marks, others may be worth 1. But this is one way in which you can do it. There are others, but for the sake of simplicity, when we reach that point where we're practicing just past paper questions, I will show you how to do the other, do it in a quicker time space, but still have quality working to show your marks. Now, we start from this step. This is simply a restatement of the question. So we're actually going to be using PEMDAS. What is PEMDAS? PEMDAS is a step method we use when dealing with mixed operations, not just with fractions, but anything in math. It could be algebra, it could be vectors and matrices, whatever it is, you use this, it's universal. So what does PEMDAS mean? PEMDAS is parentheses or brackets, meaning whatever equation is in that bracket or parentheses must be solved first. The next one is exponentiation. Any number that has an exponent must be solved after. Then multiplication, that next division, next addition, and finally subtraction. So moving back to this question, we have a division operation within parentheses, and we also have an exponentiation operation also within parentheses. So let's look at how we're going to break this down. First thing first, we're going to convert this mixed fraction into an improper fraction. So now we have 24/5 divided by 8/3. Next, we're going to expand the exponentiation. So for simplicity's sake, so it's 4/3 multiplied by 4/3. As we did already know, this 2 here means that 1 1/3 is multiplied by itself. And that's how we get our 2. And if it's multiplied by itself 3 times, this would have been a 3. If it was multiplied by itself 4 times, it would have been a 4. However many times it's multiplied by itself, that is the number you would have here. Now I want you to notice something. This may be a step when it comes to past paper drills, I will get more in depth with this. But one thing you could do that it would count as a step is that you could put 24, you convert these to improper fractions, but because all are improper fractions, you convert all to improper fractions. But what you could have done when expanding it, which I find was lengthy to do, was put 1 1/3 multiplied by 1 1/3. Because I already converted these to improper fractions, I just converted it across the board. So I got 24/5 divided by 8/3 minus 4/3 multiplied by 4/3. The next step would be to actually perform the calculations in the brackets. We removed this bracket because we simply had to multiply, which gave us 16/9. However, we know that when in classes gone by, I have taught you that when dealing with division, the divisor in this case is 8/3. You find the reciprocal of the divisor. And how do we find the reciprocal? Simple. You just flip the fraction over. It comes like you're multiplying the fraction by 1. Or you could just, you know what? Just a minute. Let me show you. Just a minute. Because we actually did a session on division of fractions. Great. Here it is. The reciprocal of any fraction is the inverse property of that fraction. That connects both multiplication and division. When we use the inverse property, dividing any number is the same as multiplying it by its multiplicative inverse. Now, when we have divisors as fractions, the law still applies. So in this case, the multiplicative inverse of 15 divided by 3, which is the same as 3 over 15, is basically saying 15 multiplied by 1 over 3, or 15 over 1 multiplied by 1 over 3. This gives us 15 over 3, which is equal to 5. Likewise, we have a fraction. We want to find the multiplicative inverse of 5. 5 is not a fraction, 5 is a whole number. So we're going to convert that into a fraction to find its inverse. And when we convert that into a fraction to find the inverse, we now multiply. So it's not going to be 5 over 1. If it was 5 over 1, then that would be division. And multiplicative inverse means we're now going to be multiplying the opposite of the fraction. So it's going to be 1 over 5 instead. So it's going to be 2/3, not divided, multiplied by 1 over 5, which is equal to 2 over 50. Now, what exactly is the multiplicative inverse of a number? That is the number as a denominator and 1 as a numerator. This is why in the first example, when we found the inverse of 3, it became 1 over 3. When we proceed to solve the equation by multiplying 15 by 3 instead of 3. 15 by 1 over 3. Now, back to the past paper question. Here, this needs to be able to calculate what is in the bracket. We first need to find the multiplicative inverse of 8 over 3. And what I'm actually going to do, I'm actually going to show you the working for that. And I want you guys to take this down so you understand why we get 8 over 3. I don't want you to just, yes, that's the step, but I want you to understand why you are doing what you are doing, so that if a question comes that you never meet before, you're not going to flounder and you're not going to be like, oh, Mr. teach us this. Okay, so you can think of it. Remember, fraction is basically a division expression. Always remember, a fraction is a division expression. The numerator is divided by the denominator. So if we want to find the multiplicative inverse of 8 over 3, it's going to be 8 over 3 is going to be 8 over 3 is really equal to 8 divided by 3. Remember from the previous slide, they say when we find any multiplicative inverse, when we are finding the multiplicative inverse, what we're actually doing is turning the divisor, multiplying the divisor, putting 1 over the divisor. So this has now become 8 over 3 is equal to 8, not divide, multiply by 1 over 3. Because it's the reverse of multiplication. So that is how you will get 8 over 3 as your fraction. Right? We want the inverse of 8 over 3. That would now be 3 over 8. The inverse means the opposite of, and this is where English comes in. So what we have is the opposite of 8 divided by 3 is 8 multiplied by 3. But because we have to represent it as a fraction, we basically gonna be having it in this form. 3 becomes the numerator and 8 becomes the, sorry, it's not gonna be 8 multiplied by 3. It's gonna be now become 3 divided by 8. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Do I need to do another example of this?
You will get back in your calculating.
Yes, I understand.
Cameron? Vanessa, you understand what I was saying?
I get in there, but as you go along, I will
All
I'll
right, you
catch up
don't
more.
worry about it. We will address it later on after class. Right? So what I want you to do for me during class is I want you to write down the questions that pop into your head so I can address it afterwards.
Okay.
Right. So we get now 3/8 thing because the opposite of 8/3 is 3/8. All that long explanation and mathematical calculation is simply to say the inverse or the opposite of 8/3 is 3/8. And that is why instead of solving this equation one time in one step, we bring it down another step after solving this equation in brackets. So it's now 24/5 multiplied by 3/8 minus 16/9. We're gonna solve using PEMDAS. We still have a bracket. We're gonna solve what's in this bracket first. And you're gonna get 72/40 subtract 16/9. Now, we know when it comes to subtracting numbers with different denominators, we have to find the LCM of both denominators. In this case, it's 360. Then we multiply that LCM by the numerator. So it's gonna be 648. This did not go how I wanted to. Right, so it's gonna be 648 minus 640/360, which gives us 1/45. Cameron, are you able to access the work that you did now?
Miss, I'm by my aunt right now.
Okay,
And-
good. Well, here's what, I am recording this. So what I need you to do is when you do get home, go through it, see what you got correct, and put the necessary corrections for what you got wrong. But you have all of these anyways,
Yes, miss.
right? Okay, so now we're gonna deal with the other questions. You have 5 1/4 minus 2 1/3 divided by 2 1/2. Step 1, change these to mixed numbers. So it becomes 21/4 minus 7/3 divided by 5/2. Step 2, perform all operations that are in brackets or parentheses. So we now find the LCM of 4 and 3, which is 12. So we get 68 minus 28 divided by 5/2. Remember, we just talked about the inverse. So now we need to turn this in this, we need to find the inverse of 5/2. The opposite of 5/2 is 2/5. So it's gonna be 32, the answer from this, 32/12 multiplied by 2/5. That gives you 70/60, which is equal, the final answer is 1 1/6. Just a minute, please. Right, the next question. If I'm moving too fast, stop me, ask whatever question you have. Vanessa, you make sure and write down the questions you have so we can address it afterwards.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Jesus Christ. Right. So now we have a complicated question like this. It's not complicated. I did a lot of the questions in this format to decomplicate it, and then I started doing it in this format as well to show you guys the difference. Basically, this 3 1/3 multiplied by 1 1/5 is saying, remember again, in fraction, the numerator is the dividend, the denominator is the divisor. So the numerator is always divided by the denominator. This line here represents division. So all it's saying is that 3 1/3 multiplied by 1 1/5 divided by 3 1/3 minus 1 1/5. Now, this is multiple operations. You have to put it in brackets to be able to solve it in the correct steps. If you didn't put it in brackets, you're gonna do the wrong order and you're gonna confuse yourself. This is what you need to do. First things first, convert to improper fraction. When you have mixed numbers like these, the simplest way to solve it, you could, in this case, multiply 3 by 1 and get 3, and multiply 3 by 1 and get 3. But you're dealing with so many operations, it's just simpler to convert to improper fraction. So that's what I did at this step. And then at the next step, I simplified. So 10 over 3 multiplied by 6 over 5 gives you 60 over 45. Divided by, now we are dealing with different denominators. We need to find the LCM and multiply it by our numerators. The LCM of 3 and 5 is 15. So 15 multiplied by 4 is 20. 15 multiplied by 6 is 18. Sorry, I think there's an error with this. Let me just pull up the calculator. I multiplied. Okay, 15. Okay, so this is wrong because it's supposed to be 15. Oh, sorry, my bad. I don't understand how to get this. 3 into 15 is 5. 5 multiplied by 4 is 20. And then 5 into 15 is 3, and 3 multiplied by 6 is 18. I am sorry for that. I apologize. So this is correct. So now that we're at this stage, we just simply divide, subtract the numerators. So you get 60 over 45 divided by 2 over 15, which we can, and I did it this way because usually this is how we would write it. We can cancel 2 into 2 is 1, 2 into 60 is 30. 15 into 15 is 1, 15 into 45 is 3. 3 into 3, 1, 3 into 30, 10. Our final answer is 10. And you can do this working on the paper, and this counts as marks as well too. And you will see 4 marks, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is 4 marks again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see where your marks are going. This one is 3 marks. So you get 1, 2, 3. So let's go. 4 and a third minus 1 and 5/6 divided by 1 and a third multiplied by 1 and 2/3. Now I want you to notice where I put the operations. The numerator is the dividend. This equation is our numerator. The denominator is our divisor. It goes, so when we have our numerator, the numerator goes on the left-hand side of the division sign. The denominator goes on the right-hand side of the division sign, right? So now we solve. 3 and 6 is different denominators. The LCM is 6. 3 into 6 is 2. 2 by 13 is 26. 6 into 6, 1 by 11 is 11. 26 minus 11. And of course, we solve this. So 10 by 5 is 50. 7 by 3 is 21. So now we solve. 26 minus 11 will give us 15 over 6. Divided by 50 over 21. We did not need to go through this step here in per se because it's only 3 marks. We could have gone directly to this step. I only did this to show how we get from this to this. So it's going to be 15 over 6 multiplied by 21 over 50 because the inverse of 50 over 21, as you know, is where you change the denominator becomes the numerator and the numerator becomes the denominator. So it's going to become, again, we can either choose to multiply both numerators and denominators and then get a huge fraction and then reduce it to the fewest term, or we can do cross multiplication. So basically what this is saying, 3 into 6, 2, let me cross multiplication, cancellation. 3 into 6 is 2 and 3 into 21 is 7. 5 into 15 is 3, 5 into 50 is 10. This gives us 21 over 10, which is 1 and 1/20. Any questions from anybody?
No, not right now. I'm now catching up again.
Okay, Kimoy, you good?
Yes.
Cameron, you good? Right. Next question. Again, numerator is the dividend, denominator is the divisor. You're gonna get, you guys, I want at the end of this class, you get tired of hearing me say the numerator is the dividend, denominator is the divisor. That should be a song stuck in your head like Baby Shark. Anybody ever heard that annoying Baby Shark song? Well, I want this to become like that. The minute you hear it, it gets stuck on your head and repeat. The numerator goes on the left-hand side of the division sign. The denominator goes on the right-hand side of the equation sign. We solve once we have mixed fractions, we convert all mixed fractions to improper fractions, then solve the equation. So at this stage, we have 10 minutes left, guys, and then everybody will just log back on. Right, so at this stage, you have 7/3. This is where you start getting your first marks. So 7/3 plus 3/7 divided by 7/3 multiplied by 10/7. 49 plus 9 divided by 21 over 21 divided by 17/21. This is just the thing, we moved our brackets. This is now gonna give us 49 plus 9 is 58, 58/21 divided by 70/21. All right, so look how we got our marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each step is a mark. And if you don't show the working, you lose that mark. So now we're gonna multiply. We're gonna multiply because we're gonna find the inverse of 70/21, which we know 21/70. 21 into 21 is 1. So we get, instead of multiplying and making one huge fraction, we cancel off and we get 58/70, which gives us 29/35, lowest form. Number 6, 7/3, because we again convert to improper fraction. So it's 7/3 minus 11/6 divided by 4/3, which is gonna give us LCM between 3 and 6 is 6. So 6 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 multiplied by 7 is 14. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 6 multiplied by 1 is 11. Just subtract the numerator. 14 minus 11 divided by 4/3. So you have step 1, step 2. Then we have 3/6 divided by 4/3 is going to be 3/6 multiplied by 3/4. 3 into 3, 1, 3 into 6, 2. So it's going to be 3 multiplied by 1 and 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. Number 7. Again, the numerator is the dividend, the denominator is the divisor. The dividend goes, or the numerator goes on the left-hand side of the, the numerator goes on the left-hand side of the division sign and the denominator goes on the right-hand side of the division sign. Right, so look at this. This is only 4 marks. We can calculate this immediately. This is one example of where you don't have to convert a improper fraction. It would be easier to not convert to improper fractions. We simply add the whole numbers and then add the fact because you have the same denominators. So 5 plus 8 is 3, 2 plus 5 is 7. So 8 and 7/7 divided by, now we have an equation to work out here. We make this 4 into a fraction, so it becomes 4/1, subtract 15/5. The LCM between 1 and 5 is 5. So you're gonna get 63/7 divided by 1 into 5 is 5, 5 4s are 20, 5 into 5 is 1. Um, 5 into 5 is 1, 1 multiplied by 15 is 15. So it's 63/7 divided by 6/5. When we
Excuse
find,
me, so this to be 5 minutes.
sure, go ahead.
The part with 4 over 1 minus 15 over 5, right? So the question on top is 4 minus 2 and 4/5. You have to multiply the 2 by 5 and then add the 4 on top.
Yep, because all along, to be able to solve for this, the only reason we don't convert the numerator to improper fractions is because they have the same denominator. So we can add the whole numbers together and then add the numerator. But in this case, right?
The only part I don't understand is how you get the 15 over the 5, because when you say 2 5s are 10 and 4 is 14 over 5.
Wow. Thank you so much for that correction. I do appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And thank you for speaking up. Anytime you see mistakes like that, even though I am the one teaching, I'm a human being, I make mistakes, clearly, correct me.
No problem.
So 20 minus 4 is gonna be 6 over 5. So now we find the inverse of 6 over 5, which is 5 over 6. So it's 63 over 7 multiplied by 5 over 6. And we have no common factors here to cancel. So it's gonna be one humongous fraction. You reduce it to its lowest term, it becomes 7.5. Any questions? No questions? Great. All right, so it's like, sorry, excuse me. Again, we convert all improper fractions, all mixed fractions into improper fractions. It's gonna be 23 over 7 plus 5 over 3 divided by 8 over 7, which gives us, because these are two different denominators, we find the LCM 21. 7 into 21, 3 multiplied by 23 is 69. 3 into 21 is 7, 7 multiplied by 5 is 35. 69 plus 35 is equal to 104. That is how we get this 104 over 7. This divided by 8 over 7 remains. And in this step, we simply find the inverse and multiply. So it's going to be 7 over 8. When we look at 104 over 21 multiplied by 7 over 8, we do have a common factor with 7 and 21. We can cancel 7 into 7, 1, 7 into 21, 3. So now we get 3 multiplied by 8 is 24, and 104 multiplied by 1 is 104. Reduced to its simplest term is 4 and a 2. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Number 9. We convert everything to improper fraction. When we convert everything to improper fraction, we get 34 over 6 minus 14 over 3 divided, because the numerator is the dividend, the denominator is the divisor. The numerator goes on the left-hand side of the division sign, and the denominator goes on the right-hand side of the division sign. So we get 34 over 6 minus 14 over 3 divided by 11 over 3. Notice these are different denominators, so we're going to find the LCM of both, which is 6. 6 into 6, 1. 1 by 34 is 34. 3 into 6, 2. 2 by 14 is 28. We simply subtract the numerator. 34 minus 28, we find the inverse of 11 over 3, and we multiply by 3 over 11. This is going to become 6 over 6 multiplied by 3 over 11. Now, I'm glad we got to this point. We know that 6 over 6 is equal to 1. But if you, in this case, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can show them the work, and it depends on how much marks that you need. I did not need to do the second step here, or even put it like this, because we would simply be 1 multiplied by 3 over 11, which gives us 3 over 11. So you get marks to step 1, 2, 3. Right? This becomes 6 over 6, which you know automatically is 1, so you know you're going to get 3 over 11. I did it this way so that you can see how 6 over 6 being 1 still gives you 3 over 11. So 6 over 6, 6 multiplied by 3 is 18, 6 multiplied by 11 is 66. Reduced to its lowest form is equal to 3 over 11. This is something you can also do to find the equivalent fraction of a smaller fraction to go up. So you know when we want to reduce a fraction to its lowest term, we divide by a single common the numerator and the denominator. We divide it by a factor that is a factor of both. Well, when we want to find the equivalent fraction, but the bigger or a larger equivalent fraction, in this case, we simply choose a number, either 2, it could have been 2 over 2, it could have been 4 over 4. It would simply translate to, and let me actually do that so that you can see. So it translates to 6 over 6, right?